You're listening to the Study Legal English podcast, helping lawyers and law students become fluent in legal English. For more information, visit studylegalenglish.com. Hello and welcome to the Study Legal English podcast. I'm your host Louise, and in this episode we are going to look at the law of tort, or tort law. Before we begin, I have a question for you. Does your jurisdiction have tort law? Let me know by sending me an email to louise@studylegalenglish.com, or you can join in the conversation on social media. Just search for the Study Legal English group on Facebook or Legal Englisher on Instagram. One more point before we get started. If you're a member, you can access extra resources, a transcript if you are a light member. If you're a Podcast Pro member, a transcript and a vocabulary list for some of the key legal English vocabulary used throughout this episode. Obviously, these resources are very helpful if you want to improve your legal English, because it's great to listen to me speaking about the law and about legal English, but you might not really know what the words mean, you might not hear me correctly, so the transcript can really help you to learn new vocabulary, to check your understanding, and of course then the vocabulary lists contain explanations and example sentences of how you can actually use these words in real life. So if you're interested in membership and you're not yet a member, head over to studylegalenglish.com/pricing. I have one more thing to mention, and that is tort law is one of the topics contained in the Test of Legal English Skills, the TOLES exam. So if you are studying, you're preparing for the TOLES exam, then this particular episode could be helpful for you to remind you of some key vocabulary. So now, let's get started. What is tort law? The law of tort deals with civil wrongs. A civil wrong is something that causes harm or damage to another person. The word tort comes from the old French word for harm and means a wrongful act or omission. And the law of tort is often dealing with situations where there is not a contract between the two parties. So when the tortfeasor commits a wrong against another person, a tort occurs. I just used the word tortfeasor, and that means a person who actually commits the wrong. Tort law has some overlap with criminal law. For example, assault is both a crime and a tort. Tort law and criminal law, however, are a little bit different in how they're dealt with by the courts. For example, if you prosecute an alleged offender for a crime, the court's sentencing is often punitive. That means the criminal will be punished. However, an action in tort aims to return individuals back to the position they were in before the tort occurred. This means that the person who suffers harm is entitled to redress, some kind of remedy. A court may award damages. Pay attention to that word damages. When I say damages with an S, I mean compensation. And damages, meaning compensation, is always with an S. Don't confuse it with damage, which means harm. There are many different torts, including nuisance, intimidation, conspiracy, and passing off. However, the three main torts are negligence, trespass, and defamation. Negligence is the most common ground for bringing an action in tort, as it occurs when someone causes harm to another person because of their carelessness. It is based on the duty of care principle, which is a principle relating to the idea that some people in society can owe a duty of care towards others. If through our negligence we cause somebody harm, then that person could go to court seeking a remedy, which would probably be compensation. The court will only grant the award for compensation, or for damages, we can say, if the harm caused was reasonably foreseeable, which basically means that it would be reasonable for the person who committed the tort to foresee the damage caused by that particular action. For the claim to succeed, the claimant must prove that the defendant was in breach of his or her duty of care. The other main torts are trespass and defamation. The tort of trespass can be trespass to the person or trespass to land. Trespass to the person is related to physical harm, either done or threatened to a person. Within this category, trespass to the person, there are 3 other torts. The tort of assault, which is to make someone fearful of being physically hurt. The tort of battery, which involves actually hurting someone physically. And the tort of false imprisonment, which is to keep someone in a certain place without that person's permission. The tort of trespass to land is when someone or something enters into your property without your permission. Defamation, on the other hand, is a tort which occurs when someone harms somebody else's reputation by making a negative statement about them. When the statement is permanent in nature, such as a published article in a newspaper or magazine, a tort of libel occurs. When there is a negative statement which is temporary in nature, such as in the course of conversation, the tort of slander occurs. What do tort lawyers do? The work of a tort lawyer is varied, with common areas of practice being personal injury and professional negligence, including medical negligence. Medical negligence is when a doctor has breached their duty of care towards a patient. Personal injury cases involve a person who has been injured in an accident. For example, motor claims if you've been involved in a car accident. Employers' liability claims if you've been injured at work. And industrial disease claims, which are related to harm caused by industry. A couple of films that you should watch if you're interested in this area are Erin Brockovich and A Civil Action. These deal with huge claims related to harm caused by industry. A typical day in the work of a tort lawyer representing the claimant involves investigating the circumstances of the accident, serving notice on the defendant to notify them of the claim, and resolving liability for the injury if possible through settlement outside of court. The lawyer will also need to obtain medical records as proof of the injury and probably ask for a report on the injury from an independent medical expert. They might even need to be in contact with the police to get police reports of a particular accident. The lawyer will also need to identify the financial losses sustained as a result of the injury. For example, has the claimant sustained a long-term injury? Will they be out of work? Will they have to pay for surgery? All of this needs to be taken into account when determining the kind of level of compensation. If the claimant is unable to reach a settlement with the defendant outside of court, then, of course, the court proceedings will be issued. In professional negligence work, lawyers advise professionals or companies working in a particular profession, such as accountants, architects, construction firms, and medical practices or doctors, on risks involved in the job. As a professional negligence lawyer, you get an insight into the workings of many other professions. So if you are curious as to how other professionals are regulated and the particular risks associated with that profession, then maybe working with professional negligence is a particularly interesting area for you. What makes a successful tort lawyer? At the heart of tort law is relationships with people and helping them and their families rebuild their lives after an accident or some kind of harm. Empathy and being able to form close, trusting relationships with your client is essential. Interacting with people from all walks of life is an important part of the job, so you need to have well-developed interpersonal and communication skills. Tort cases often involve lots of paperwork and strict deadlines, so effective time management skills will help you to manage your caseload. The realities of the job. If you're a person who loves helping people, tort law gives a huge sense of personal satisfaction. However, there are many challenges to the job. The high level of technicality and procedural rules which form the foundation of tort law means solicitors must know the civil procedure rules because a lot of their work is contentious and will often involve filing a case at court, so you need to be sure about the rules governing court actions. Great. So that's the end of the episode. I hope you found it useful and you learned something new. If you're struggling to follow the episodes, consider becoming a member. Head to studylegalenglish.com/pricing. The transcripts are going to help you a lot. I get a lot of feedback from members saying that that's one of their favourite features because not only do they listen to the show, they also download the transcript and read through it, which helps them to learn lots and lots of vocabulary and to see the words being used in context. One other thing, don't forget my question. Do you have the law of tort in your jurisdiction? Let me know. Send me an email to louise@studylegalenglish.com or find me on social media, search for Study Legal English or Legal Englisher. If you're a member of my site, head over to studylegalenglish.com to access your benefits. So thanks for listening and see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Study Legal English podcast. If you really want to get ahead, why not become a member and gain access to many learning resources? Visit studylegalenglish.com/pricing.